Yeah, specifically our project, we worked with a couple former Air Force Academy grads and a couple former military guys that had experience working with NFL and elite athletes. And they'd tried to expand, or were looking to expand into maybe Special Forces military, into collegiate training, maybe youth athletics. And really what it came down to is you had these two guys with a huge amount of experience working with the best athletes and the best teams in professional sports. And they had knocks at their door to come work on this project, come work on that project, and they had really no idea where to go with it. What do we pursue as for goals? And they came to us with this huge brand opportunity, if you can imagine it, that they have this brand that is themselves that they can sell, but they don't know which direction to go with it, and they don't want to just give it away to the highest bidder. And so they said, what do we do? What opportunities do we take? So as you can see, there's a lot of room for play there in terms of, well, you could go into youth athletics and team up with one of the big sports apparel companies, or you could try and go into a consulting business with NFL teams or with collegiate teams. Maybe you can look at some individual work with the U.S. military and train the Navy SEALs or some of the elite Special Forces Army or Special Forces Air Force guys. And so we really broke down what kind of business they did, what their core competencies were, and decided what kind of business model could they do going forward. And it broke down into 3 months of research on the kind of markets they were looking at and the opportunities that they had, and then also their current business model and what they were doing. And then went back and presented to them that we thought the youth athletic market was probably the best place for them to go in terms of market size and the willingness to pay, and really fit with their core competencies. They had already worked extensively with Nike and Nike Spark, training youth athletes and running camps around the country. And so we went back and gave them a couple ideas of maybe they should take this to the internet. And they said, sounds great, give us some more information and draw up a business plan for us. So what started out as a field study, generally giving them some strategy, turned into a business creation project where they asked us to come up with a new business idea that they could fund and take forward, which completely changes the scope of the project, and you basically start all over, whereas most teams do a full business creation. We had to start halfway through our project. But it put so much more on us to learn about the internet, to learn about the process of starting a new business and the costs you have to think of when you're doing it. In certain respects, we wanted it to be very lean so that they could get forward, but as we developed, we realized, wow, there's huge market potential here. If you get a couple $100,000, you can really roll with this and make it a good opportunity. So, along the way, we'd get these gentle nudges from our advisor, Professor George Abe, kind of pushing us towards realism, pushing us to really have some analytical framework and some grounding in our numbers. And I think that was the biggest lesson I got from AMR, is that you kind of have this idea, and we saw it the first day we sat down to meet with them, that they had this huge potential there. The first thing we all thought was, hey, let's put this on the internet, this will sell, there's a great price point for it. And in your head, intuitively, you kind of knew where it was going to go. And he said, step back, let's do all the work, let's see how it shapes out. And we did all the digging. We started finding out how big the markets were, and as we got done and we looked at it, hey, this really does make sense. How do we go about implementing it? And as we went into implementation and looked at where kids in the target age range spent their time and what was the most active media, we found it was the internet. And you get to this point where, yes, we're kind of going towards our intuition, but at the same time we had building blocks and bricks along the way to build a foundation for what this business is.